Welcome to Wonderwave. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating aspects of ancient history, the role of women in ancient Egypt. Unlike many other ancient civilizations, Egypt provided women with unique rights and opportunities that stood out for centuries. Let's explore how women in ancient Egypt lived, worked, and influenced society. To start, let's set the stage. Ancient Egypt spanned thousands of years, with its civilization thriving along the fertile banks of the Nile River. It was here, in this cradle of innovation and tradition, that Egyptian women found themselves in roles that would surprise many people today. Women in ancient Egypt enjoyed legal rights that were exceptional for their time. They could own property, sign contracts, and engage in business ventures. Women, whether they belonged to the royal family or were commoners, had the right to inherit and bequeath wealth. In a world where women's legal identities were often merged with those of their husbands, Egyptian women stood apart. They retained their individuality in matters of law and finance. For instance, a woman could divorce her husband and retain any property she brought into the marriage. This autonomy was unheard of in many other ancient societies. But legal rights were just one aspect of women's lives in ancient Egypt. Now, let's delve into the workforce. While the upper-class women could lead relatively leisurely lives, women from lower social classes often worked to support their families. They served as weavers, midwives, bakers, and even doctors. Some were employed in temple workshops, creating goods for religious purposes. Others worked as professional mourners, a role crucial to the highly ritualistic Egyptian burial customs. The role of women in religious life was also highly significant. Women could serve as priestesses, an esteemed position that allowed them to take part in temple rituals. The goddesses they worshipped were powerful and revered, with figures like Isis, Hathor, and Sekhmet playing central roles in Egyptian mythology. These goddesses were not just symbols of fertility or motherhood, they embodied power, healing, and justice. Isis, for example, was known as the goddess of magic and wisdom. Her influence was so far-reaching that her worship spread beyond Egypt and endured into later civilizations. Egyptian queens, known as the Great Royal Wives, held significant political power. One of the most famous examples is Hatshepsut, who defied traditional gender roles by declaring herself pharaoh, donning male regalia, and ruling Egypt for over 2 decades. Hatshepsut's reign was marked by prosperity, extensive building projects, and successful trade expeditions. Her reign challenges modern assumptions about the limits placed on women in ancient societies. Another powerful queen was Nefertiti, known for her beauty, but also her influence alongside her husband, Pharaoh Akhenaten, during a time of religious upheaval. It's also worth mentioning Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt. Though she lived during the Hellenistic period, Cleopatra embodies the long tradition of powerful Egyptian queens. She was highly educated, politically savvy, and instrumental in navigating alliances with powerful Roman leaders. Cleopatra's legacy remains one of the most iconic examples of female leadership in ancient history. But despite these remarkable women, the majority of Egyptian women lived more modest lives. Their primary roles were often centered around the household and family. However, this didn't diminish their importance. In fact, women were seen as the backbone of the family structure, responsible for managing the household and raising children. The concept of Ma'at, or cosmic balance, was deeply ingrained in Egyptian culture. Women were often seen as the maintainers of this balance within the home, guiding the family's spiritual and moral well-being. Education for women varied depending on their social class. While most women were not formally educated, daughters of wealthy families could receive instruction in reading, writing, and mathematics. These skills were typically reserved for those entering religious or administrative roles. Lower-class women, on the other hand, learned practical skills necessary for their daily lives, such as cooking, weaving, and managing their household. Marriage in ancient Egypt was viewed as a partnership. Although men were the traditional heads of the household, wives were respected and played an essential role in decision-making. Egyptian marriage contracts often outlined the rights and obligations of both spouses, offering a level of protection to women in cases of divorce or widowhood. Polygamy was allowed, though it was uncommon except among the wealthiest men who could afford to support multiple wives. As we explore the daily lives of Egyptian women, it's important to acknowledge that not all women experience the same freedoms. Class and wealth significantly impacted the roles women played in society. Elite women had access to greater privileges, while poorer women often led more restricted lives. However, the relative social mobility and rights available to women in Egypt were still extraordinary for the ancient world. Health and beauty were also areas of great importance to Egyptian women. The use of cosmetics was widespread, not only for aesthetic purposes, but also for religious and practical reasons. Both men and women wore makeup, with green and black eyeliner being particularly popular. They believed it provided protection from the sun's harsh rays and from evil spirits. In addition to makeup, women cared for their skin with oils and perfumes. Wigs, often made from human hair, were common fashion accessories among the wealthy, signifying status and beauty. In summary, the role of women in ancient Egypt was multifaceted. They were mothers, wives, workers, priestesses, and even rulers. While their rights and opportunities varied depending on their social status, the overall position of women in Egypt was far more progressive than in many other ancient civilizations. Their contributions to the family, religion, and even the state played a significant role in shaping the enduring legacy of ancient Egypt. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Wonderwave for more fascinating stories from the past. See you next time.